Happy Valentine's Day. Let's do it.
Good afternoon. I'm Ted Williams, Fox News. You all have said that these killings are targeted. Can you share with us why you believe they are targeted killings? And do
What
you
is up to
know
the
who,
transparency?
if any, of the victims were the actual targets of the killings? Why you believe they are targeted killings? And do you know who, if any, of the victims were the actual targets of the killings? Why you believe they are targeted killings? And do you know who, if any, of the victims were the actual targets of the killings?
Stated earlier in the previous press release or press conference, we believe they're targeted because we take a totality of all the circumstances that we're looking at. Do we know any one person that it was targeted? We're not able to say at this point in time due to our investigation, but we still believe that. But we, like I said, we take a totality of everything that we're looking at.
Let me just take you back to Sunday morning about 1:45. At that time, all four victims are back in this house. Now, there are two entrances to this home. One through that front door that has a coded lock. We've learned that at times that coded lock would be left off because a lot of people would come to this location for parties. And then there's a sliding back door. And Lawrence, there were two individuals in this home that was left untouched. Somebody the next day, around 9 hours after this incident was supposed to have taken place, called law enforcement. When law enforcement got here, they found that the door was unlocked. There was no forced entry. But, Lawrence, I can further tell you, at some stage, there was an autopsy performed. The medical examiner said that there was blood all over this place, all on the walls, on the floors. It was a very vicious attack, and the weapon that the medical examiner said was a knife.
The names of the 4 University of Idaho students killed at an off-campus home over the weekend. Moscow police say 20-year-old Ethan Chapin of Conway, Washington, 21-year-old Madison.
What is up? Truth and transparency. We are starting in 11 minutes. We're going to do a little Q&A with all the members here. Welcome, welcome. Whew. I am tired. How you guys feeling? Grizzly visitor, thanks. Hi there, Hannah. I love Grizzlies. Welcome to all the Grizzlies. Welcome all the Grizzlies. I try to go so old school that look at this. This is old school, right? I'm old school. I should start playing some old school rap songs. Yay. What is up, Megan? How are you? Good to see you here. So what are you guys thinking? A lot of rumors going around. I know people have been saying, Lana, what do you think about the Dylan's friend allegedly coming out and saying whatever they've said? I don't think anything of it, actually. I think that anybody that would be Dylan's friend or a boyfriend of a friend, they wouldn't be saying anything. So that's what I think of that. So I know people have asked me that in the comment section. So my answer to that is I don't think too highly of that. I don't think too much of it. If you were a friend of Dylan's, you wouldn't be saying anything. So now what do I think about what was said? I think about that as highly as I think about what somebody put out about Brian Kohlberger's Washington State University school records. You can't, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. There's laws against that for a reason. And I don't understand why people in mainstream media are, you can have an opinion, just go out and talk about your opinion, but trying to say you have sources close to the investigation. I mean, you're basically asking yourself to be investigated, I would think, off the gag order. I mean, right? So I'm not doing a video on it because, I mean, it was, me and Bella knew about that person, Gigi or Gigi, or I don't fucking know. We knew about her, and I was like, I don't entertain that crap. You know, if you got what you got and you know where you got it from, and if it's legit, and drop it. But to be all secretive about something, yeah, no, sorry. We're going to be heading over to Bella's channel after this for her to do a read off, which I think is awesome because it can just like wind us all down. But so make sure you guys stick around. Yeah, I agree with all the anonymous stuff. That's kind of why I like what the intentions of this whole podcast was to take everything that I had done up until this point and condense it into video audio that people that may have not have been following this case could follow along. But it was a way to stay involved with everything leading up to the preliminary hearing. I don't want to put out, false stuff. And yeah, I'm good. Doing research on something, bringing facts to light, reminding people on, hey, remember this? Do you remember that? Do you remember this? Like that type of thing. Right there. That made me laugh. So this is all to take us back from the beginning and then bring us where we are now. So what do you guys have for me? 911, the 911 caller still hasn't been released. I don't think that the 911 call should be released, the actual substances behind it. I think it's interesting that you think that the person behind the call is so important. I think that that's interesting, but the call itself, whether it's to protect the families from hearing that, I'm more concerned with why you feel you need to protect how this all happened. Someone calling 911. That's more or less my things. Question there for Mary. Mary says, how could she have gotten this letter? Right, Mary? I mean, how? Look at how long my hair is. Oh God, look at that. Look at that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, dumpster diving. You could pay for stuff nowadays. So ask News Nation what the going rate is for a paid interview with Kara. I don't know. I've never paid for an interview. I've never paid for sex. I don't know. I don't pay for much. Do I think that he's the perp? No, I don't think he's the perp. Do I think that he is nosy? Absolutely. Yes. And nosy people know a lot of things. What is up, Gina? Love you back there. You can leave your hat on. Isn't that a song? Your hair's, it's so long. I was in the process of growing out, but I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So I was in the process of growing it out, but I don't know. I go back and forth every day. I do. You know what? Right there. You pay for eggs. You're damn right. You know what? You're right. I pay for my eggs. Fuckers, $9. They better. Did you guys get any Valentine's Day gifts yet? I've gotten some Valentine's Day gifts. I got some flowers. I got a tanning package. I'm a golfer and I'm usually like tan. And so I think somebody took notice and they're like, "Where, dude, are you like, what's up, man? Why are you so white?" I'm like, because I fucking edit all day. I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning because I'm a perfectionist. And I was like, dude, this isn't like matching up the way that I need it to. So I got a tanning package, a spray tan. I'm good on like frying my body anymore. Remember back in the day, we would put like baby oil on our skin. That's just so bad. This was sent to me last year. This was sent to me, and see, like, who doesn't love like a big ass hoodie? But this was from the Chelsea Handler live show. So somebody sent this to my PO box because they knew like that I love Chelsea Handler. So I scooped up this badass Chelsea Handler tour hoodie. So thank you, appreciate it. If you're not burning, you're not trying. Shut up. I use olive oil. Oh, God. Sleuthy comes through with that. If your name wasn't Sleuthy Goosey, I wouldn't even highlight it. Got to give props. Yeah, so. I got some shoes. I like shoes. I like watches. I love time, numbers. It's just a thing. I didn't get any boobs, and I like boobs. I didn't get any of those though. Please don't send me them. Do I think a roommate is involved? Honestly, to say somebody's involved, I just think that right now, it's complicated. It's complicated. I'm going to go with law enforcement on that one. It's complicated. It's complicated. Do I think Kohlberger is guilty? I think if Kohlberger is guilty, he's not a lone wolf. That's where my investigation has me right now. So, because there's certain things that just don't add up. You can't get to Brian Kohlberger without it's like you eat cereal but no milk. What? Just. But this episode right here proves why I feel the way that I feel, because I'm telling you guys how I feel as in like November 29th. So this episode has to do with everything that I started doing November 20th through the 29th. And so this episode, because I know that you guys wait like a whole week to get them the next two that are back to back. I'll tell you one day why I did it like that. I do the back to back. I'll tell you why one day. Soon, I promise. But it's an hour and 8 minutes tonight. And it's the most solid hour and 8 minutes that in the beginning of the investigation that really kind of just like puts you in a mindset of like what they're telling us doesn't make sense. And it wasn't just what law enforcement was telling us. It was with like everybody, since nobody was going live in terms of like the media, in terms of like the police, people were doing these odd little interviews. And I mentioned this before, either when something happens in the beginning of investigation, either it's a complete lie or it's like gold and you have to decipher between it. And so this episode pretty much like is all about that. When someone says that someone can't get a fair trial, like think about that. Like think about like we could all be potential, jurors one day. But I don't care who you are. Why wouldn't you start with the mindset of like, somebody is innocent. So like, here you go. I hand you here's your notebook. It's blank. And then here's your other notebook when we go through the exhibits. But you have a blank notebook and they're going to have to tell you, like, they're innocent right now. They have to tell you that they're guilty. So what's amazing to me is I want to reverse the script here and say, how do we live in America when everybody is out there saying that Brian Kohlberger is guilty? Like, you're supposed to go into this that every American is innocent until proven guilty, but everybody out here is, you're guilty and you have to be proven innocent. That's why lawyers are starting to change the way that they defend their defendants. Because you want that extra, like, versus the prosecution proving beyond a reasonable doubt X, Y, and Z. And it's not just that. It's not just with like murder cases. It's that with like stupid drugs. And I say drugs are stupid because I'm gonna be honest with you. If you want to take drugs, I don't give a flying fuck. Take whatever the hell you want. I don't care. You'll never see me like go hard against drugs, because if you want to do drugs, now you want to sell drugs to kids, I got a problem with that. You want to beat women and sell drugs, I got a problem with that. But if you want to physically take drugs yourself, take whatever you want. If you want to fuck a goat, have at it. As long as you're not rocking my boat, I'm not going to rock yours, you know? But the moment that you rock and you impede and you infringe on other people's rights is the moment that we, the people, should do something. So thank you there, JL. This case seems like 2 or 3 timelines were folded into one. Yeah. Nice comment here. Justice isn't always is right. I think they meant to say justice isn't always right. Is that what you meant to say? I think that people get too emotional, and I think that the number one question I would ask a jury participant is, when are you on your period? Are you on your period right now? Okay, I want to use my peremptory challenge. Bitch, you gotta go. So, goats have rights too. I hope they do. So that'd be my first question. How many kids do you have? What time of the month is it? Because that's the last thing you need is somebody just to catch them on the wrong day and they're like, whoa. So Upstate says, Leda, we were separated at birth. God, I hope not, man. You're way too wild for me. You could be my older sister. So where are you from? I'm from Ohio. Are you going through menopause? That's a question. Are you going through menopause? What kind of questions would you guys ask your jury? Are you a mailman? Have you ever cheated before? Have you ever asked for forgiveness? Have you ever seen a guy with bushy brows? So, but yeah. Members, last chance here. I'm going to close out the questions here. I'm keeping my eye on anything that's in green right now. Were you in a frat? Good question. Good question. Do you have multiple personalities? Yeah. What is up, Octavia? Love you, baby. Did I win? Yes, I won on my Patrick Mahomes bet for getting the MVP. I won on that. I think only like the smallest percentage put I said red Gatorade. It was purple. Come on, like that's just so close. Purple grape wasn't even an option. You had to like type that in. So, because anything that you had to type in was an extra. Like it was automatically 1,600 to 1 odds. So, but I went red and I like said like, come on now. I didn't bet purple though. I lost on my heads bet. I bet heads instead of tails on the coin toss. I lost on that. I won on the yards. I won on the MVP. I won on the total yards of Travis Kelce. I think I said what the Chiefs would win. So you were talking about Super Bowl. Those bets here. What is up, Jeremiah? I just always love the prop bets. They're just wild. Like we got to start doing prop bets on my channel because I think that that's amazing. Like, is Lana gonna wear a hat or not? Is Lana gonna be on camera today? You know, how many times is Lana gonna say over or under 20? Can you imagine? Now, how do I feel about the halftime show? She was pregnant. So, hands down, could any of us do that pregnant? No. So, I mean, I think that it was kid friendly. Okay, how do I become a member? Great question. I'm actually horrible at it. I don't know. It just says join. Literally, I don't know. Oh, thank you guys for becoming members. Hey, Hot Ham. It was your birthday week last week. Do you feel older? I feel perfect. Yeah, same. Stacy, same. I think that she's been through a lot. So same on all that. Same on all that. Nobody came out to perform with her. I picked at least one person would. I mean, those dancers were sweet and all, but like, I'm sorry, like I didn't want to see. Do I think that she lips sank a little? I do. But again, I mean, I'm curious to know what she got paid. I thought it was like 16 mil. Is that not right? All right, last couple questions here. I'll treat you guys like Idaho. No chains, no more. Again, this is episode 4. Thank you guys for being here, all of you guys. Members, subscribers, lurkers, people that are on the fence. Everything that I've ever done in life, it's always been with the best of intentions. I'm exercising my First Amendment rights to simply investigate something, look at things from all angles, and the most important thing is to keep our U.S. Constitution in mind, and that would be that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. If this tragedy doesn't raise a lot of questions, then that's your opinion, and you won't see me ever say anything about that. You won't see me go around in people's channels and hate on whatever it is that they say. Like, everybody out there has the right to what their opinion is and what they think. It's when you exercise it in a way that's hateful. So please say whatever you want in chat. Just don't be hateful to one another, and say, okay, like, is it a possibility? Like, if you tell me that, 4 people came from China in the middle of the night to murder these 4 students, I would tell you that, yeah, no way. But right now, are things plausible? Are there multiple things that are plausible? And the answer is yes. Possible, plausible. So all are always welcome here. She said, that was awesome. She said she had a special guest. Little did we know it was in her womb. Slam. Lana is always wearing a hat. I would say 90% of the time. Maybe 95. Keep doing what you're doing, girl. I just think it's amazing what our phones can do. I could start talking about like, God, what's wild? Christmas lights. Oh, I want Christmas lights and then like our phones hear that and then they start like popping up the ads. It's just wild what our stuff can do. All right. I just wish that Michael Jackson was still around because I really wanted one more halftime show of MJ. Thank you there for that subscription to the membership there, JL. I need to start being better with explaining how to even do that. I love you too, boo-boo. I love you too, boo-boo. Lana, wear your hair in a messy bun. I like it. I like it. I like it. I could probably do that right now. Give me a hair tie. It takes like 2 seconds. All right. Yes, and Prince. Oh my God, like MJ and Prince. Oh, I know. All right. So after this episode, we're gonna go do it right now. It's 1 hour and 8 minutes, and then Bella, how do we do that again? How does it like just transfer over? You just like, do I just say we're going there and I click like a button? What do I do here? So everyone's going to be going after this. Bella is doing a nighttime story reading of the Idaho 4 case. I don't know how to. This is my first time doing that. Oh my God, it hasn't started. This is incredible. Nope, I haven't gotten my period yet. It hasn't started yet. We will see. What do I do? Just like take you guys? Then I'm gonna pin the link. What link am I supposed to pin? Tell me what link and I could do it. Do we go to her channel? Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. Do an MJ series. All right, here we go. All right, guys. Again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. Here is episode 4 in its entirety. Again, I want to thank the members and subscribers. The moderators always. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. I mean, happy Valentine's Day. Is it Thanksgiving? I wish it was Thanksgiving. God, I love turkey. Shh.
And Leslie Jones, a year of frustration for friends and legal colleagues who can't understand why the case of the couple killed in cold blood hasn't been solved, and a year of unanswered questions for Oak Park Police. 1 year ago tonight, 7:30 p.m., the grisly discovery in this 113-year-old Oak Park home. 67-year-old Leslie Ann Jones and her 69-year-old husband Thomas Johnson stabbed numerous times. The couple both had Harvard law degrees. She was found on the second-floor staircase landing. He was in a bedroom. Whoever killed them spent considerable time in the house.
The crime scene is large. A 3-story, nearly 4,000 square foot home that sits upon over 10,000 feet of land.
This February video put on YouTube one of the few public statements by Oak Park Police, who declined numerous invitations from the I-Team to discuss the case and perhaps elicit new information from viewers, leaving family members who also declined to be interviewed to wonder what happened and why. Attorney Tom Johnson was a hearing officer for the Chicago Police Board, a civilian agency that determines officer discipline. Guianne Foreman is the board president.
Tom was like the judge in the sense that he presided over the hearing.
And in recent years, Johnson handled several controversial, high-profile cases alleging police misconduct.
The not knowing is the hard part. Is it something associated with one of our cases? Is it something associated with the crime and violence that takes place in Chicago? Very little was going to get by Tom. Tom was going to evaluate this from both sides to make sure that all of the questions were answered in an effort to make sure that justice is truly served.
Travis Jetton and his wife were both brutally stabbed in their home in the middle of the night. Travis died in the attack and his wife was seriously hurt. Fox 12's Adrian Thomas spoke with Travis Jetton's mother about the family's latest efforts to seek justice.
On August 13th, 2021, the Jetton family's lives changed forever. A year later, Marion County Sheriff's Office detectives are still trying to hunt down the person or people responsible for the murder of Travis Jetton. And the Jetton family is offering a large reward for anyone who comes forward with information about Travis's murder.
When this happened, I would have never believed it for a million years. Travis was just an amazing young man. And so we are really struggling because we don't have answers.
A year later, and still asking why and who took the life of 26-year-old Travis Jetton in a senseless act of violence. Travis's mother, Myra, remembering her son nearly a year after that night, where Travis and his wife, Jamelyn, were both stabbed multiple times. Deputies with the Marion County Sheriff's Office were called to the Jetton family's farmhouse near Howe Prairie Road and Hazel Green Road near Silverton. Myra, remembering her son as a calm and compassionate person.
Right before Thanksgiving 2022, I was tracking down different cases that had to do with people being stabbed in the middle of the night, whether they were couples, whether they were, friends, anything that was similar to this in terms of the whole, is this a serial killer? Honestly, I didn't put too much time into this theory, mainly because of the way that the university and the police responded to the media with everything saying that, hey, everybody's okay, this is an isolated, targeted attack. That's not how you would respond to a crazy person on the loose. I went ahead and I made a list and I said, okay, what do we know? What are they telling us? And again, this was right before Thanksgiving, because they said that they were going to come out with another press conference on the 23rd, which was the day before Thanksgiving. So when I was going through all my stuff, I said, okay, well, what are they telling us right now? And it was, they first revealed in writing on the 23rd that there was 103 pieces of evidence collected at the scene. Throughout the investigation so far, investigators have collected 103 pieces of evidence. They've taken approximately 4,000 photographs, made multiple 3D scans of the residence, and hundreds of hours by ISP forensic science technicians and investigators. So that was the first time that they ever talked about a number. And they said 103 pieces of physical evidence. They were still wanting available videos, whether theirs appears to be motion or not. That was West Taylor Ave, Northwest Palouse River Drive South, Highway 95 South to the 2700 block of Highway 95 South, and the Botanical Gardens, the west boundary. So there was mention of Kaylee having a stalker, but detectives have been unable to corroborate the statement. Investigators are requesting anyone with information about a potential stalker. Detectives believe, again, that word believe, that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in the Moscow community separately, but returned home by 1 a.m. On November 13th. The two did not wake up until later that morning. Again, they're getting this 1 a.m. time of coming home. In this, they never talk about that these two surviving roommates, at no point do they ever talk about that they saw them come home, meaning the victims. When I was going through all of this stuff, they never mentioned that they physically saw them get home. Okay, so did you physically see Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, Maddie come home at those respective times? It is alleged to be home at 1:56 for the Maddie and Kaylee from the grub truck, 1:45 from Sigma Chi for Ethan and Xana. But nowhere ever in here do they ever talk about either of the surviving roommates physically seeing them come home and having any type of conversation with them. Nothing like that. So then I started working through okay, what do I think these 103 pieces of evidence could be? Who do I think told the police that Kaylee was talking about a stalker? Who would have said these things, and what are these 103 pieces of evidence? Because at this point, we don't know if the police have the phones of the four victims. We're assuming that they have the two phones of the surviving roommates, but there's been no mention if the police have the cell phones of the deceased four off-campus students living in this house. Well, I'm digging on different things. That's exactly what I'm doing, is different things. So as I'm working on what I possibly could think, the 103 pieces are, now I'm also looking at, okay, Kaylee and Maddie just had turned 21 not too long ago. So now it's their true taste to be out at the bars where they're going to be around older people, especially older men. They can go ahead and gawk a little bit, and at times they can be creepy. But I wanted to look at the bars that were in Moscow and who normally was attending these places, especially the corner club, seeing as that was some place that they would attend on a regular basis.
Her friends were really pretty, so them attracting attention was pretty common wherever they went. So I think she attracted attention. Whether that's a dedicated person following her around, maybe not. I do believe that the officers looked in it, and I believe what they said, that there was no evidence there.
Are you confident with the way they're investigating?
I think it's hard to say this way or that. They're obviously holding it very tight to chest, which could either be a really, really great sign or really, really bad sign. And I think depending on...
But I want to start with that story confirming that Kaylee had a stalker. So take me to that whole situation with the business in town and what you found out.
Yeah, this was interesting, Ashley, and we didn't expect it. We went to this vape shop in downtown Moscow looking for surveillance video. I mean, we've been going all over the place just trying to get any new information. And the manager actually knew Kaylee and Maddie. They had been there 6 or 7 times. And then he had a lot to say about the potential of this stalker. Listen to what he told me.
So Kaylee and Maddie would both come in very happy, very friendly. You know, they always were just such a smile on their face. Just like pretty much you would say they're the light of the world, pretty much. You know, always happy, go lucky. They always came in just chatting. They always came with a group, like I said. They probably, I'd say 4 or 5 girls at most, all the time. They come in together.
Okay. When I first saw this, I immediately said to myself, this guy has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. You're a manager of a store on a campus where you have 13,000 kids. It's a vape store. That's the new thing to do. Girls are going to be coming in and out of there. If you knew who these people were on a name basis, it's like a cell phone place, then you have to have some type of relationship with them. You don't know them because they came in your store 6 or 7 times unless you are striking up conversation or you're dealing in each other's lives outside of this. Because think about it. Just think about how many times you would go into your bank, and unless you're chumming it up with your, teller, they're not gonna know. Like, who tells their banker that they are being stalked? Who tells their vape manager guy that they talking about stalking? Now, and I want to know, did he ever go to the police? Because if you would have seen this, Brian and Ashley Banfield get to them, how many days later did he go to the police? And if he didn't, then, that should just tell you everything that you would need to know about this conversation. But to me, this right here, yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that she didn't have somebody that was causing her problems versus the word stalker versus somebody's giving her a hard time versus somebody's always showing up when I'm going out places. If I'm here, if I'm there, if I'm doing this person's always, like, they know where I'm at all times. They're showing up where I'm going, like, WTF type of situation that she could have talked to her friends about. Absolutely. But this guy right here, knowing anything about that, no. But that doesn't mean that somebody wasn't bothering Kaylee or the other people, the other victims. Because yes, they could have been 100% being bothered by people or a person. Now on November 23rd, 2022, it would be this live press conference. I would go live from my YouTube channel and show it live.
Happening today, Moscow police are holding another press conference with an update in the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. We also have new details in the case this morning. Police telling us they extensively investigated tips they received about one of the victims, Kaylee Gonsalves, reportedly having a stalker. At this time, they have not been able to verify or identify if that is true. They also confirmed their belief the killer used a fixed-blade knife in the attacks. Investigators continue to look for the weapon as it was not found at the crime scene. Police still have not identified a suspect. Today's press conference is happening at 1.
My job. I just want to let you guys know that there will be a question and answer time. We're going to try and extend it today to be a little bit longer, so that way more people have the opportunity to ask questions. We have a gentleman who will be passing around a microphone, and he does.
Moscow, only 1:45 a.m. after visiting a local bar and a street food vendor. Ethan and Xana were also out in the community at Sigma Chi, and they arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. 2 surviving roommates who were also out in the community arrived home at approximately 1 a.m. Later, on the morning of November 13th, at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was placed. The call reported an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence, and a surviving roommate's cell phone was used. During that call, the dispatcher spoke to multiple people who were on scene. Moscow police officers responded and found 2 victims, 2 on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd floor of 1122 King Road. The results of autopsies indicated that the 4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds, and there was no sign of sexual assault.
Okay, when I heard this again, because Roger Lanier did a really good job of being very cautious with his language, with the words that he used. And this whole thing of that the call originated from inside the house, okay? So 911 wasn't called outside the house by someone's phone after they like ran out in disbelief, okay? This call originated from inside the home, one of the surviving roommates' phone, so it was not one of the deceased. Why would a student who has their phone with them all the time, why would a student who has their phone with them all the time, someone like Hunter, someone like Sue, Bob, Joe, all these friends that are their age, why wouldn't they use their own phone to call 911? Why would they use the surviving roommate's phone? You wouldn't do that unless you didn't have your phone on you. And who doesn't have their phone on them?
The call reported an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence, and a surviving roommate's cell phone was used. During that call, the dispatcher spoke to multiple people who were on scene. Moscow police officers responded and found 2 victims.
When I really wrote this down in my head, how could someone use someone else's phone to call 911? Everyone has their phones on password protect. If a roommate was able to call friends over, why wasn't that roommate then able to just call 911, even if it was after, talking to your friends to do whatever it is that you needed to do before you called? Why wouldn't the friend or friends that were summoned over use their own phone to call 911? What was the original plan that clearly went, I believe, AWOL? And did any of the roommates speak on the 911 call? So from all of this, I began to start a new little slew thing on who was called that could potentially be somebody that cannot be the person, is there, or that this person does not want it out there that they were there. They don't want to have to explain it. It's not important. How can we just, hey, this, I'm here, but listen, I can't be the one to call. I can't be the one to do any of this because it's going to lead to other questions. It's going to lead to other questions. And that's the only thing that made sense to me, is that so we need to have a plan. And I think that investigators were lied to. I think that people took the rap for maybe being there that weren't there, but like I said, you have people that are on this 911 call. So how many voices are on it, and did they go ahead and establish that, okay, this person is this voice, this person is this voice? But just because the voice, how do I want to say all this? To me, this was problematic. This was problematic to somebody that does not want their name out there, because it's going to lead to other things. For example, if Tom Smith is 50 years old and he has no ties to any of these people in terms of publicly out there, like why would this person call me? And why would I be there? But if I can get away with saying that you called me because I was offering you a job, or you had called, like, we can get away with why you had called me, and that you called me before you went upstairs because you were supposed to come, we can explain a phone call, okay? We can't explain that you called me because you found your roommates dead and I was your first phone call. Now that we can't explain, or we don't want to explain, because it's going to lead down a path of drugs, rock and roll, sex. It basically leads to a road of, why was this your first phone call? Why would you call this person who you don't know, or we don't think that you know? Why would you call this person? And if it was as simple as calling one of these neighbors who's always over all the time, that's explainable, Okay? That's explainable. But what's not explainable is explaining how you called somebody who is not somebody that you're ever publicly with, hang out with in any capacity like that, why that would be your first phone call after seeing your roommate's dead bodies. Also, I believe that, so during this investigation part right here, I said, okay, whoever called to have people over there, because it's not like the call when they said that it originated inside the residence, that means that the people or a person was inside that residence, right? The call originated what? Then you came outside. Oh, because that's the story you're going to give, right? And then what? Somebody just picks up the phone because it was, I just picked it up and I didn't realize who they were talking to. And so I started talking to 911. Well, that doesn't make any sense because you had the wherewithal to be fine and to make all the other phone calls first. And then now all of a sudden you're passing out, because I believe that they were going to sell the fact that I did not see the bodies yet. I had called them just to come over and hang out because we hang out all the time anyway. So I had already called them. I called them first to come and hang out. I hadn't seen the bodies yet. That's why I was able to call them and everything was fine. That's what they're going to sell. Okay. But we know that that's bullshit, right? The timing will tell you that it's bullshit, right? Depending on what time they got there, and body cam, or not body cam, but like the footage from the outside houses are going to say, okay, this car got here at 10 o'clock in the morning. You called us at 11:52. What's going on? That's what that's going to lead to. That's when some people are going to have to come clean and get lawyers and explain to their lawyers what the hell's going on, okay? And go through lawyers at that point. That's what I believed was happening. I believed that we have a couple different versions, and the versions started changing because law enforcement looked at footage. Whether it was the FBI that looked at it, whether it was Moscow, Idaho State Police, but they had footage issues. They had timeline issues. And now it was about, all right, getting our stories all straight. And whether they did that collectively with the police department and the other law enforcement agencies, or whether they did that outside of it, and so that everybody would have the same story when they were talked to a second or third time, that I would still be, unsure of, and we'll see what happens at trial. But where I was and where I am in the investigation right now is that we're looking for somebody or somebodies that are going to be very hard to explain on why they were called if it was after seeing the bodies versus before.
The results of autopsies indicated that the four were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds, and there was no sign of sexual assault. We do not believe the following individuals were involved: the two surviving roommates, the male seen in a grub truck video circulating on the internet, a private party who drove Kaylee and Madison home, any of the individuals who spoke to the dispatcher on the 911 call. We're also aware of a male whom Madison and Kaylee had called several times the morning of November 13th, and we do not suspect that individual.
Now, see, none of this makes any sense when I was watching it because of what the next guy says. And it's about how this takes time. We have to process this. We have to.
How cases are investigated, so that maybe it'll give some sense of the why of the timeline here. We understand you want answers. We want answers too. But these take time, and if I could explain just a minute about the process here of what we go through just generally in investigations. So we use in advanced investigative techniques and crime scene processing. So what happens when a call comes in, the original officers, the first officers that respond to a scene, and then once that they've got their work there and determined that they need some additional investigative assistance, then they call investigators to come and help process that scene. And oftentimes it requires a forensics team to help process that scene. And when I say process the scene, what we're looking for is we're looking for any evidence that may help us to be able to find the people or person responsible for what we're seeing. And so we're collecting biological evidence, we're collecting latent evidence, whether it's shoe prints or tire marks or anything like that. We're trying to collect that evidence. We're trying to we do that through photographs, we do that through 3D mapping to be able to map the scene. We identify and we mark evidence, and then we collect that evidence. And then we look for any evidence that we think may be helpful. And once that is done, then we package all that evidence up and we send it off to forensics laboratories to be analyzed to see if it can help provide clues of what's happening. All of this takes an immense amount of time. The reason this is important to understand is because it's important that while this is such a tragic circumstance that we find ourselves in law enforcement, we believe we owe this to the surviving families to get this right.
Well, then if it takes so much time and there's so much to do, then why are you clearing people, and how are you clearing people? If what you need was sent off, the 103 pieces were sent off to a lab to be examined, how are you clearing people day 10? But more importantly, why? Why do you even have to speak on that publicly? This to me was a timeline for him to explain about it's a cover your own ass, but why do you even have to go to this, path to cover your own ass with a timeline of all the response stuff, all the police end of it. We're over here questioning a timeline of like, wait, what do you mean this happened at 3 or 4 in the morning? There's people in there. They didn't hear people getting stabbed. What's going on? And which is crazy enough to us. But then here we now have a cop on the podium. He is trying to explain his timeline, which is the responses to things and what happens. And like he's already basically gearing up for those questions when they come out, as far as, wait, why didn't you get there until 4 or 5 to process the scene? Why weren't you called until here? Why didn't the coroner go in at this time? They're already jumping ahead of a ball. But if you don't pay attention to everything that these people say and why they're saying it, they're pulling stuff over on us before we can even question something. They're already talking about something that they know is about to be in question because they question it themselves. What does complex really mean? Why is this so complex? Why is this case so complex? Like 4 college students, isolated, targeted attack. What the motive is complex? What makes this complex? And when you think about that, when you think about why he's saying that this is complex, is he saying for them it's complex? Because what they're going to need to get a conviction, because it's going to be all circumstantial. But what does complex really mean? If something's complicated, what makes this complicated? What makes this complicated? It's a complex case. That means there's moving parts. That's what makes it complex. Think about it. When you say that you're in a complicated relationship, what does complicated mean? Moving parts, different scenarios, different things are going on. What, a case within a case? But what is truly making this complex? And how do you already know that it's a complex case? Versus, well, let's just, where's the evidence leading you? Then the other thing that I took away from Willis over here, he talks about the numbers. And he says that there was 150 interviews. November 23rd, 150 interviews to date. Well, that's something interesting because on the November 23rd press release, it's 3 pages and it coincides with this November 23rd press conference. And when they talk about the numbers, they only talk about 103 pieces of evidence, 4,000 photographs. They talk about the multiple 3D dimensional scans of the residents. But guess what? Oh, and they also talk about the investigators and how many hours they've worked. But guess what they don't talk about? They don't talk about the fact that they have 150 interviews. That's something that we get from ISP. So I went back and looked, and on November 21st, it was still at 38 interviews in the written Moscow press release. On November 21st, 38 interviews. Then you have November 22nd, and now you have November 23rd, and it's 150. But Moscow still, in their paperwork, on November 23rd, they just don't talk about the interviews. They don't talk about it. They don't have the number 38 in, and it's just like a typo. They just completely take out that information to even be available. Why? Why? Is it because anybody like someone like me sees November 1st or November 21st, 38 interviews, and then November 23rd, 150? Who the hell was getting interviewed within those 2 days? And what are you considering interviews? And why can't you talk about it on your November 23rd printout?
We ask you and we ask the public to please remain patient as this investigation unfolds. And please rely on official sources of information. We really appreciate the media's assistance. We know you have a job to do. We know that you're professionals and you do it to the best of your ability. And we're thankful that you're here because without you, we could not get the correct information to the community that could help us solve this. So I can't overemphasize how much I appreciate and we appreciate in law enforcement your willingness to do this. What you are doing matters. And it matters in what we are committed to doing, and that is to the best way we can think of to honor these victims and their families is to conduct this investigation correctly. Finally, I'd like to share that I've been in regular contact with Idaho's Governor Brad Little throughout this investigation. Governor Little is making available up to $1 million for expenses related to this ongoing investigation. As you heard, the resources that are here in Moscow and throughout with this investigation, you can see that those expenses would add up quickly. Like all Idahoans, Governor Little is deeply saddened by the loss of these 4 bright and promising young lives. And he's making sure the state of Idaho provides all of the resources possible to ensure that the person or persons responsible for this are brought to justice. And now I'd like to turn the time over to the University of Idaho President Scott Green.
Question, Ken.
committed to doing, and that is to the best way we can.
Kind words of support we have been receiving from our alumni and friends, as well as many others who may not know us but have taken time to reach out. People are donating to the victims' GoFundMe pages and the Bruce Pittman Fund for Students in Need, and they're buying personal devices for our students and continuing to look for other ways that they can help. This is what it means to be a vandal. In the last 24 hours, we have sent updated communications to our students.
And then secondly, will there be any possibility of the release of the 911 phone call, even in transcript form?
Not at this time. That's part of our investigation.
Frankie Beer, the Daily Evergreen. I guess the Moscow PD press release mentioned looking into hundreds of pieces of information about Kaylee's potential stalker. I was wondering what led you to believe she did have a stalker possibly, and why those pieces of information haven't come up with conclusive results.
I'm actually going to let Captain Lanier answer this question, okay?
Thank you, Chief. We obtained information through some of our interviews that Kaylee had made some comments about a stalker, so that's where that came from. We have followed up looking at specific time frames in specific areas of town. So far, we have not been able to corroborate it, but we're not done looking into that piece of information.
And there was the official press conference talk about the whole Kaylee stalker situation. Throughout my investigation, I went ahead and was like, who brought this to the table? Who brought this to the table? Who are the individuals? Because I don't believe it was in the sense of that she had a stalker. I think it was in the sense of that she was afraid of somebody. And who did she trust enough to even talk about this with? Was somebody saying this to lead investigators in a wrong direction? Everything about this was weird to me, because Kaylee having a stalker, there's 4 people dead. There's not one person dead. A stalker isn't going, this isn't how you would go about getting your object of your affection. Like, this is not what you would do. You'd want to isolate them. You'd want to have them all to yourself. You know, going inside a home where 6 people are and stabbing 4 of them brutally and leaving 2 alone. No, this doesn't sound like this would be somebody's stalker. What this sounds like is somebody giving all 4 of these people problems. So is the word stalker actually being used incorrectly here? And should it be another word? Are you having problems with somebody? So they're not necessarily your stalker, but they're showing up places because, I don't know, do you owe anybody money? And they keep coming up places? Are you messing around with someone's boyfriend and then the girl's always, the ex-person's coming up around you and, you know, getting in your grill? At the end of the day, though, what this told me is who would come forward in these interviews and say this, and for what reason, and really what kind of concrete evidence do they have. And the cops they're talking about time frames when this was allegedly to have been said to happen. I think the reason that they mentioned that is because this was earlier. The dates and times that they're giving, I believe from his answer, isn't recent. And that also makes sense because wasn't Kaylee living at home? She was at home a lot. So was she having problems in her hometown? Or was she having problems and that's why she went to her hometown? Because I don't think that's the reason that she's in her hometown. Maybe she's in her hometown because she wants to be hanging out with somebody that's in her hometown. So she's there a lot more. Remember that name, Jordan, at the beginning of this episode? Highlighted while you guys were watching the two videos about the Chicago murders with stabbings and then the Oregon murder with stabbings. Well, Jordan would be a friend of Kaylee's that said that she was going to Austin with Kaylee. And now this blew my mind because Kaylee put out in October that she was going to Austin and she was looking for a roommate. She made a big to-do about it on social media and put out like basically an ad looking for a roommate in the Austin area. Check out what I found.
Okay, hi class. Today we're going to be talking about healthy relationships and what it means to be a good friend. So I want everyone to raise their hand if you've ever heard the nursery rhyme. It goes 1, 2, buckle my shoe, 3, 4, shut the door. We're going to go over how to bump past a volleyball. So to start, please raise your hand if you have ever bumped past a volleyball before. Okay.
From this article in the New York Post, dated November 19th, Jordan says that Kaylee, who was from the same area as she was, had been set to graduate early in December and planned to move to Austin, Texas with one of her closest friends in June. The friend is Jordan Quinsnell. She said that Miss Gonsalves had secured a position with a marketing firm and was excited to explore more of the country. It would also be right from this New York Post that Jordan's name is mentioned again on November 19th in an article. It's about the victim, Kaylee Gonsalves, having a stalker, right? They had interviewed somebody or multiple people. Is Jordan one of them? I believe yes. But also, in this article, it is Bill Thompson who basically gives it away here and says, investigators were looking at cell phone tower data. What were they looking at? Were they just getting all the phone numbers and making a list of all the numbers that were in the area? Wait, like I am so confused here. Kaylee was supposed to be leaving in January to be going to Europe to go backpacking for a month across Europe, and then she starts her new job in February and getting an apartment in Austin and is actually looking for a roommate. And she posts online. But Jordan here, she seems to think that Kaylee's going and has a job in Austin in June that she's really excited for. But she does mention that she's getting excited because she's graduating here in December. But she's not starting that full-time job until June. But then there's another time that Jordan's interviewed, and in the interview she says that she is going with her. Jordan is going with Kaylee. And so I was determined to get to the bottom of everything to do with Jordan, with Kaylee, with these dates. Let's go. And here it was. November 16th was actually the article. Just 2 days. Bodies were found on the 13th. The 14th would go by. The 15th would go by. And then on the 16th, this is posted. So this interview happened within 2 days of finding Kaylee deceased. And here it is. As I'm scrolling through, I see Jordan Quinsell. And she even goes deeper. She says that she was set to graduate in early December and had planned to move to Austin together in June. The plan was for Jordan to teach elementary school and Miss Gonzalez to work for a marketing firm that had offered her an internship. Both women had grown up in Idaho and yearned to see more of the country. Jordan said that they spent weeks trying to choose a city to move to. They were eyeing San Diego, Charlotte, ultimately picking Austin. I wanted to look more closely at those cities, San Diego, Boston, Charlotte. Why was Austin picked over those three? And was there a reason that San Diego, Boston, Charlotte, and Austin were the four? What was going on in those cities? What businesses were there?
According to a New York Times article, Kaylee Gonsalves planned to move to Austin after graduation with her close friends. She had gotten a job with a marketing firm. A Facebook post from October in the group Austin Roommates shows her looking for someone to live with. It reads in part, I am coming from Idaho, so I am not familiar with the area, so open to living anywhere in the Austin area.
Kaylee said in her post that she only needed a place until June. So she only needed a place to sublet for February, March, April, and May. So she only needed from February to May. Is it because Jordan was coming in June?
You've been frustrated with, because you did your own work here. For instance, you found video of the food truck, for example, where two of the victims were seen the same night as this killing.
Yeah, I would say, I think that obviously this is extremely personal for us, and we treated it that way from the very get-go. I know how valuable those first 48, 72 hours are. And I can only hope that the police also know how valuable that is, and that they have a lot of information there that just isn't public right now. I will say the one lingering frustration I have is the timeline. I know it's semantics, but my sisters got home at 1:56. It wasn't 1:45. I know it might not seem significant, but when we're looking for camera, when we're looking for dash footage, when we're looking for any of those things, I do feel it is valuable, and they did get home at 1:56. It was not 1:45.
Right. Well, there's one detail there. Kaylee's mother has said she believes that the suspect, the killer, is someone Kaylee knew very well, and that the killer might even be at the vigil. Remarkable. I wonder, Steve, do you share that view?
It's speculation. My daughter was very popular. It seemed like everyone that I talked to said she knew everyone. They had parties. They were college kids. They were about to graduate. Yeah. So somebody could have partied in the house and got an idea or got the confidence to pull that off.
Steve, this question of a stalker, and I'm very conscious with this story of how many rumors.
Frustrations with the investigation. Here is part one of our conversation.
You know, she was hurt so bad that she was not able to recover. That is just terrible.
No, it's okay.
It's terrible. And I cannot fathom in my head what kind of person did this.
It's capable.
And why. I can't sleep at night. I lay in bed pondering just millions of different scenarios. And just, I want to know, but then there's stuff obviously you don't want to know, you know, but
you just cry.
I think I want to know it all, and
you're okay.
I just don't understand why. How somebody can take somebody, four of them, it wasn't just my girl, just so savagely.
Is anyone acting differently since the murders? I mean, is there anyone that you have a weird feeling about that the girls knew or that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say not in the immediate circle by any means, but a few of the names that have been circulating around, I think it's hard not to kind of, you know, dig into this. And I don't know how much of that is just because we have so little information from law enforcement and how much of it really is, you know, a sister or a father's intuition.
Can you elaborate at all? I don't know. You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe shouldn't have been. And yeah.
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss.
An hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that, definitely should have been looked at, and yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So
Are you nervous at all? I mean, because in Moscow, we talked to students. People are really nervous there.
They should be.
Yeah.
This targeted to me, it seems behavior-based. That's why I don't like it, and it kind of pits the parents against each other. So I don't like that. I just told some of the other parents today that, if your daughter has no ill will for me, man. To me, if you go have a couple beers or go out and hang out with your friends and then come home and go to bed, if that's your target, then I think we all do that. I think we all come home and go to our beds.
It's all target.
Yeah, so
it's kind of a bad word then. It doesn't really make sense in some ways.
Exactly.
Even the prosecutor told me that.
Yeah.
He said, I think it was kind of a weird word to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it makes sense if there was some bad behavior that they did, let's say.
Because it was safe. There had not been a homicide in Moscow in 7 years. And now this morning he tells me the only thing worse than losing his daughter, her best friend, and 2 others is not knowing why or who is responsible.
This morning, students on edge at the University of Idaho as the search for the killer in that brutal quadruple homicide enters its 3rd week.
It is disconcerting that there is somebody out there who's done such a horrible thing and they haven't been caught.
The school posting this notice on social media Monday, writing increased security will be on site for the remainder of the semester. Steve Gonzalez, the father of one of the victims, 21-year-old Kaylee, now shedding new light on what happened that night in his first sit-down interview.
It was fast, and nobody suffered and nobody felt like that kind of pain.
2 other roommates survived on the ground floor, waking up several hours later, calling friends over when their roommates were unresponsive.
Do you know the reason why the initial concern was that a roommate was passed out?
I know the girls reached out via texting and calling, so I can only assume that by the phones being ignored, knowing how my daughter is not going to ignore calls and texting.
Officials maintain the murders happened between 3 and 4 a.m. and that the first 911 call was made around noon. Just hours later, Steve was informed of his daughter's death, not by police, but by family members on campus.
Let's call Matt.
Happy to be joined this morning by Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson. Mr. Thompson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Police there have called this a targeted, isolated attack. Are investigators looking for a particular suspect or suspects this morning?
At this point, the investigators are looking at all possibilities. They don't have a specific suspect. They're continuing to work on that.
Do you believe that whomever did this is still at large?
Yes, we have no one in custody, and the police have been unable to identify who's responsible for these homicides.
Is it possible there's more than one suspect?
It certainly is possible. That's the purpose of the investigation. That's why we're really hoping for any information from the public that can help the investigators recreate everyone's activities Saturday night and early Sunday morning, and hopefully give them the leads, the information to identify who did this.
There's so many things about this case that are so hard to put together. Veteran police officers who arrived at the scene said it was one of the most horrific and gruesome scenes that they had ever seen. Yet somehow there were two roommates who were in the house who apparently didn't hear anything. What are the red flags you have there, and are those roommates considered persons of interest?
Well, anybody who might have knowledge is considered persons of interest at this point. As far as suspects, I don't believe so. The investigators continue to work hard trying to interview everyone who might have any information and hopefully figure out and identify what occurred and why and who's responsible.
As we understand the timeline, and we recognize that this is an investigation very much ongoing, the four came home, you know, early in the morning, Sunday morning, let's say 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The 911 call didn't come until midday the next day. Does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there, and I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with.
All right, right now, listen to what he says.
Obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Hey, does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there. And I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. He, to my knowledge, there is nothing to indicate that this has been determined to be a crime of passion. We know it's just a horrible crime, and 4 young lives have been lost.
And finally, you know, initially, investigators and the police had said the community has nothing to worry about. Now they've sort of said, well, of course we should be vigilant because there is a suspect or suspects still at large. What is your message to that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office, they believe that this was what they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence. And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously that communication didn't work very well. It's unfortunate for any confusion in the community. People just need to be vigilant and help us however they can. We hope that we can identify who's responsible and get them off the streets as soon as we can.
We're sure your officers and prosecutors are working hard there. Thank you so much, Latah County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson. Thank you for your time this morning.
So as I'm comparing everything that has gone on before Thanksgiving and now here after Thanksgiving, I wanted to get everything that the parents had said up and until that point and really examine it. Because I had gotten to the point right after Thanksgiving, right after that last presser, that November 23rd presser, it went from, okay, the cops aren't telling us everything, to me then starting to believe that the cops weren't being honest about some things, because it just didn't add up. When 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, you gotta start questioning. So that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to look specifically at the language, and it was this interview that Mr. Gonsalves did that really turned me on to start looking at pictures, start digging. Put it together, Lana.
About the case?
Well, we just had a vacation. Law enforcement told me that they were going to drop off a little bit and not to expect the same type of communication that I had gotten before. They passed it on to another person. So basically, long story short, it was Wednesday, 5 p.m. was the last time that they reached out to me. So, yeah, that's rough.
Sir, what are they telling you?
Kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things. We're the same family that found the original timeline. We're the same family that broke into the phones. We tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because a court order is not the fastest thing. So we broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target?
Telling us everything to me then starting to believe that the cops weren't being honest about some things because it just didn't add up. When 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, you gotta start questioning. So that's what I wanted to do. I really wanted to look specifically at the language, and it was this interview that Mr. Gonsalves did that really turned me on to start looking at pictures, start digging. Put it together, Lana.
About the case?
Well, we just had a vacation. Law enforcement told me that they were going to drop off a little bit and not to expect the same type of communication that I had gotten before. They passed it on to another person. So basically, long story short, it was Wednesday, 5 p.m. was the last time that they reached out to me. So, yeah, that's rough.
Sir, what are they telling you?
They're kind of just telling me that they can't tell me much, which is frustrating to me because I've been very trustworthy. I do know things. I haven't shared things. We're the same family that found the original timeline. We're the same family that broke into the phones. We tried everything in our ability to try to get into this system because
The phones, plural. Phones. The phones, plural.
Court order is not the fastest thing. So we broke in and we did what we did. We know that we have some family passwords that we all share. So we broke in and we helped them. So it's hard for me to give up as a father my protective ability to other men.
Sir, they have shared with us that it was a targeted attack. Can you give us any information about that? Have they told you who the target was or given you more insight than they have the public?
I don't want to talk bad about them because these are some hardworking individuals, and I'm doomed without them. We're all doomed without them. This defund police is just a terrible idea. The fact that we're finding out that there's more than just my daughter and these children that have suffered, it's terrible to think that we can defund these guys. It's an absolute atrocity. That's not something that is it's political. It's not political. This is just facts, guys. We can't allow these people to just run free. So beyond that, they haven't shared a lot. We have some private detectives that have reached out to us and given us information. We take that with a grain of salt and we try to be careful. Just today, I reached out to the officers and said, hey, this guy's treated me with respect on the show. I'd like to share some things with him that I found out on my own, and they asked me to not do that. So we're holding our tongue. We're waiting patiently, but we're definitely concerned.
Yeah. So, sir, I had the opportunity to speak with those same law enforcement officials today and was able to get some information out from them as well. We want to do everything that we can do to get you answers and to solicit more information for the timeline. But there's gaps in that timeline. Is there anything that you can share with us that may put people in that direction where they would feel willing to share about that timeline?
I've heard a little bit of feedback on this that people are nervous about the timeline. I'm going to tell you guys that there's so much attention on this. If you can share your information, if you can post it, I mean, it's the internet. You can do these things anonymously. Go forward. You don't have, and for those people who are afraid, like maybe I was intoxicated or I'm underage, that's not what they care about, guys. They're not looking at that. That is not going to happen. So give your information, give out that picture, that image, that video, that selfie, whatever it is, give it out and know that there's zero chance that they're coming to you for, ruining your career or your anything along those lines. They're just looking for data right now. And you could be the key. You might be something that has been overlooked. So I just implore people to come forward, especially when you're even close to that timeline, because technology is the only thing that doesn't lie, really. It's just data. And then we can analyze it as a society and determine what it is, but it doesn't lie. It's just simply data. So it's better than an eyewitness. It's better than anything that we can produce. It's right up there with DNA. And I just implore you, sometimes even if you think that selfie has nothing in the background, maybe there's a car that should be there, that somebody said in their alibi, I parked right here next to this tree. And then there's that tree and your car's not there.
Steve, we're going to put that number on the screen for people.
Someone's alibi or where they were could be disproved with digital evidence, and Steve Gonsalves, all he wanted was people to come forward. Hey, we don't care if you were underage drinking. Whatever you were doing, no one is coming for you. Why would they have to break into Kaylee's phone records or phone? Or what were they actually breaking into? It said being faster than waiting for court orders. Those subpoenas that Thompson was talking about. Does law enforcement have all of their phones? Has anyone confirmed with Moscow Police Department that they were able to recover all 4 victim phones? Coming up, drugs, Greek life, 2 were left alive. Why? Where did these girls work? Does all of this connect? Does none of it matter? Truth and transparency. Alrighty, and guys, thank you so much for being here. Truth and transparency, appreciate you. We're going to be heading on over. Again, I don't know how to do this exactly. So let's see. I think we just go there. Let's see. We are heading on over to, if the mods could drop the link, we're going to be heading on over to Bella's channel to listen to Bloom's 3-part series that he did on the Idaho 4. He has some inside sources. She's going to read it. It's like those of you guys that are going to sleep, it's a great voice to listen to. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Consider making yourself known by thumb upping or downing. If you didn't like it, make yourself known. Hit the thumbs down. But you have a thumb, you have a voice, use it. Again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to come on over here and enjoy the live chat feature with people that you like shooting the shit with, as well as listening to the information, the truth. Again, anybody that says that I'm trying to spin a narrative, I try to talk as little as possible in my episodes to say and to prove and to show that it ain't my voice. It's law enforcement. It's like the law. It's the family. It's witnesses. My voice is only showing you an interpretation of actually what they mean and then deep diving actually what they're saying. So again, thank you guys, moderators. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Again, week, as always, your episodes for this series, which is the Moscow murders, they are Sunday, Monday. I will see you throughout the week. I'm going to be doing Sheldon Jeter Jr., Rachel Altondo, Davon Cox, and an unsolved missing persons as well. So I think we are teleporting. And again, I don't know how to do it. I think there's a link that you guys have to hit. So go ahead and do that. Again, thank you guys so much. Join us over there. I don't even know what to do. I'm just going to go head over there, but was the link at least dropped here so they could click it? I don't know. So again, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Appreciate all the support. Jeremiah, thank you. Hot Ham, Boston, Mod Squad, Bumblebee, Maple Beeve, Bella, Mike Droppin', New Orleans Lady, Scorpio, Floydy. Thank you there, Mandy. Again, all of you guys, thank you so much. Again, was that link dropped? Is it working the right way? I don't know. Boston, can you drop that link? Is it? You guys are very welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yep, it worked. Okay, link is working over there. I'm over there. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys. See you over there.